one thing to you guys here. Really passionate about this book. The first time it came out, and Gary Keller and Jay Papasan introduced it at Family Reunion 2013. I still remember the date. The way they laid out the book, everything just seemed so simple. And it is. It's just not easy, right? So I loved it because as soon as I heard about the book, what I found out after reading it is that I can choose to do anything and get anything I want. It's just about how do I maintain this focus, and how do I maintain my energy, and of course, how do I build these habits to get me what I want? And that's basically what it is, right? So it just got me so excited. Something happened there. And the one thing, how many of you have heard about the one thing? Raise your hand. Awesome. With those hands raised, how many of you have actually read the book? Half of them? All right, perfect. That's awesome. So you will know what I'm going to be speaking about. For those of you who haven't, pick up the book. It's super awesome. It's not just a business book. It also applies into your personal life as well, too. Okay? So we're going to be going through that today. So if at the end of the day, what we're looking to go after is success, what does success mean to you? Feel free to raise it out, like just shout it out. Success, what does it mean to you?
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle, awesome.
Balance.
Balance, great. We're going to learn that there's no such thing as balance. It's counterbalancing, so almost there.
Freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice, awesome. We're going to have lots of choices here as well too, and we're going to learn how to narrow down our focus so that we are sure to focus on the things that matter most to us. Anyone else? Success and what it means to you? So basically at the end of the day, when I ask you what success means to you, everybody has an answer. So essentially, success is getting what you want. Wouldn't you agree? Right?
Yeah.
Because success is basically, at the end of the day, knowing what you want and then going after it with utmost clarity. So then if we're working with the end in mind and success is what we're after, then it's very important for us to know what that is. And we're going to go through this as well too. So this leads us to 1,440. Anybody who has read the book, remember what this number represents? Take a guess at it.
Minutes in the day.
Perfect. That's exactly what it is. Minutes in the day. So now I want you to think about this. Everybody actually has the same minutes in a day. Wouldn't you agree? So someone like Warren Buffett, who is so powerful, one of the most powerful businessmen in the world, how many minutes in a day do you think he has?
Same.
1,440. Someone like Gary Keller, who is our founder of Keller Williams, how many minutes does he have in a day? Same thing. You get my point. Everybody has the same amount of minutes in a day. So the question I propose now is that if everybody has the same minutes in the day, why are some people getting so much more done with 1,440 minutes, while some other people are living very frustrated lives and not getting lots done towards what their goal or what they want, right? That's the question. So I really do propose that it is because of the currency in time and how we use our time. So ever since I started to teach the one thing, I've started to view time a little bit differently. Whereas before, I hope you guys don't mind, can I take this off?
Sure.
All right, cool. So I started to view time very differently, whereas I didn't view it like this before. Time is a currency that we can, once spent, we can never get back. And it just hit me in the head so hard, right? And sometimes you can be focused on the wrong thing as well too. So how come it keeps shutting off like that? Is it because there's a timer on?
Yeah, there's gotta be.
Okay, maybe I should stand here and just. Okay. So very important again for us to be able to clearly identify what that thing is so that we can use our time properly. Because if not, again, once you've spent your time, you can never get it back. Money, we're able to make that back. Time, no way. Okay? So going small. going small is basically what the authors of the one thing talk about. So it's basically knowing what your one thing is, ignoring everything else, but just focusing on what matters most. So narrowing our focus down. Because what we realize is that when our focus is spread too thin, you actually don't get anything done, right? So very important, very, very important to do that. So going small is ignoring all of the things that you could do and doing what you should do. It's realizing that extraordinary results are directly determined by how narrow you can make your focus. I know it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but again, this is where the productivity happens. And learn from my mistake, because at the beginning of this year, so 2015, June started to build a team. By that time, we were able to quadruple my personal income when I started building the team within a year and a half's time. What happened as well too is that I started to chase 2 rabbits. So if you remember at the beginning of the book of the one thing, there's a portion where it goes, if you chase 2 rabbits, you get none at all. So this first quarter of the year failed huge because my focus was split between building a team and also building the one thing training and coaching company. It was very, very tough to do. So learn from my mistake. Do not spread your focus too thin, okay? And what we're going to be talking about at the One Thing workshop, and we're going to go deeper into this, is what we call the domino effect. And I'm sure you guys seen videos on YouTube where there are 5 million dominoes lined up. What we do know with lining up dominoes, and if we line them up properly, is that it actually creates a lot of energy, momentum, and power, okay? And what happens with that is, I want you to imagine this. The type of energy that 5 million dominoes lined up is enough to light up maybe about 4 times this room. As much energy as a grown man doing 1,000 push-ups in front of us right now. I don't know about you guys, I can't even do 5 push-ups without huffing and puffing. So you could imagine how powerful lining up dominoes is. 1,000 push-ups straight right in front of you. I want you to manage that. That's a lot of energy. So when we're talking about lining up dominoes, what we found out through research is that it turns out that a 2-inch small domino can knock over a domino 50% its size. So meaning if you start from a 2-inch domino, it can knock over a 3-inch domino, which then knocks over a 4.5-inch domino. By the time it gets to the 10th domino, anybody here who's about 6 foot tall? Could you stand up, please, Andre? So starting from a 2-inch domino this big, if we were to line them up sequentially and rightfully, the 10th domino will have enough energy to knock down Andre. The 10th
Awesome.
domino, starting with just a 2-inch
Now you guys
domino.
know.
So I just need that number.
You need 9 dominoes. There you go.
Now, if you take a look over here, this is what we call the hockey stick diagram in the book, and it's also called a geometric progression. By the time we reach the 18th domino, Leaning Tower Pizza, 23rd domino, it can knock over the Eiffel Tower, 31st domino, the Mount Everest, which looms over 3,000 foot tall. But what I want you guys to take notice is that by the 50-something dominoes, you start to see this hockey stick shoot straight up. And that's a representation of business success, personal success, by lining up your choices, your decisions, and your priorities to get you there. And this part here, it's almost like what people call overnight success, right? Because people don't see how much work successful people put in, or people who are productive put in, until that success comes. But what I want everybody to remember is that when you are focusing on lining up your dominoes, lining up your one thing, keep faith and keep going at it. Because what you'll notice here is that this line here almost looks like it's linear and straight. But what you don't see is that it's on a slight incline. So anytime you start on a new project to focus on your one thing and you feel like it's going really, really slow and nothing is happening, I want you to refer back to this diagram in your head. Keep pushing, keep going, and this geometric progression will happen. There has been 2 areas in my life where this already has happened over the past 2 years, and had I had stopped before, I wouldn't have seen this geometric progression. So one of it came out from myself. Like I said, I started the real estate team June 2015. Prior to that, year over year, I've had business growth. It was slow business growth, but it was business growth. And by the 5th to 6th year transition, quadruple the income. But had I stopped right here, I wouldn't have seen that quadruple come, right? So anytime you're focused on that one thing and you've narrowed it down and it feels really slow, please, please have this diagram in your head, okay? Let the hockey stick diagram pop up, because this is what success looks like. It's never linear. It takes time to build momentum, which is what most people forget. They just see the overnight success happen and they think it's easy, but that's not what it is. It's simple if we know how to get there, right? The second example of where it happened is that when we started the team, December 2015, we set out a business plan to farm a new area. So January, we started door knocking, snowing. 2016, we went out once a month. Every day we would cold call. Nothing happened. January passes. Again, go out door knocking in February, because again, we go once a month. Cold call, follow up. Nothing happened. March comes along, door knock once a month again. Cold call, follow up. Finally, someone shoots me an email in my inbox saying, Kim, my parents moved out and we're ready to list our house for sale. But had I stopped the activity there, I would have seen my first listing in the farm area. By the end of the last quarter, that's where we hit our goal to take 25% market share in the area by consistently doing what we did, and it was the last quarter that got us to hit our goal. So again, that geometric progression happened at the end. But had I stopped before March or stopped in between March because it was still slow, I wouldn't have seen that. So again, I just want you guys to remember, again, if you're focused on that one thing, keep going, because you're working towards building momentum to hit this geometric progression and the hockey stick diagram, okay? So it's sequential, it's over time. It's lining up your dominoes, lining up your decisions, lining up your choices. So here we go. Extraordinary success is sequential, not simultaneous. What do you think this means? Anyone want to give it a stab?
Builds on itself.
Yes. So definitely, like Andre say, it builds on itself. As well too, remember looking at the diagram that everything had to be lined up. There's a sequence to it. What you line up is very important as well too. And nothing happens when you do a bunch of things at the same time. So it doesn't happen simultaneously. Focus on one thing at a time, though it's not one thing all the time, okay? And again, the key is over time, like we explained on the hockey stick diagram. Success is built sequentially, one thing at a time. The 80-20 principle, Pareto principle. Anyone not familiar with this principle? I think everybody's pretty much familiar with it. So basically what the 80-20 principle says is that 20% of your activities will yield 80% of your results, okay? It also says that when you are working on the 80% of the activities, it could also yield the opposite 20% of your results. So it's just very, very important to be able to identify what that top 20% is and to stick to it. Anybody know what our top 20% is for real estate agents here? Lead generation, one of them, yeah.
Go on appointments,
Yes,
negotiate contracts.
yes,
And scripts and role play.
yes. And then just adding lead follow-up as
Lead
well. So
follow-up.
it's lead generation, lead follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and scripts and role play. Those are our top 20% for agents. Okay, and make sure you're able to do that on a daily basis. Now, as well with the 80-20 principle, what we can do is that we can leverage this into our to-do lists as well too. Anybody like doing to-do lists over here? Like me? Yes, all right, awesome. So it's not just me here. It's basically doing a brain dump, right? So that you don't have to really think about anything and you're clearing up your brain. The thing with a to-do list, though, is that it lists everything that's on your mind. Question for you, just a quick question here. Has anyone set out to do a to-do list, written out your to-do list, and then once you go to start to do your to-do list, you work on an activity, and then you go back to your to-do list to realize that it was not listed on your list, and you go back, put it in there so that you can cross it out and feel good.
Yeah.
Me?
Oh,
Yes?
yeah.
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's just realize though that that's an entertainment tool and not a productivity tool, okay? Because what to-do lists are designed to do is so that we can play the check-off game to make ourselves feel good. Because what happens scientifically when we cross something off, it's like hitting a goal. It releases endorphins. So we don't want to keep getting in that trap. So what do you notice are the two differences between these two lists here? Shout it out, don't be shy.
Should and could.
Yes, that's one of them. What else do you notice?
There's a lot less on the success list than there is on the to-do list.
Yes. What else do you see are the differences on here?
Not all the
They're numbered.
items on the to-do list, or not all the items near the top of the to-do list are success items.
Yes. That's exactly it.
They're prioritized on the success list.
Love it. That's what I was looking for. So besides everything else, we notice that on the success list, it's narrowed down and they're prioritized. So there is a sequence. So going back to success is sequential, not simultaneous. Yes, so that we have to remember, right? So with that, let's see how we can do that. So in order to narrow down our to-do list into a success list, we're going to take a look at this iceberg diagram, which is also in the One Thing book. So what you see here is that you see a huge iceberg, though the majority of the iceberg is actually underwater. What does that mean? So what that means is that if you've ever seen anyone who is super productive or has accomplished a lot of things, what you don't see is the huge block that's under the water, which is what our purpose is and what our priorities are. Because what happens with these people is that they have a huge purpose and they know what their priorities are to focus on, and naturally productivity and profits are the byproduct of knowing what your purpose and your priority is. So I want you to hear that one more time. If we want to get to productivity and profit, the only thing we really need to focus on is what our purpose is. Because it's never about the profit, it's never about the money. It's about what can you do with the money, which then circles back down to your purpose. But sometimes, because of the work that we do, we forget why we're working, and we get trapped in this hamster wheel. Wouldn't you agree? You forget.
Yeah.
So always go back to focusing on what's your purpose. And your purpose is that thing that makes you happy when you think about it, or when you speak about it, it makes you tingle. Focus on that. Or it could be something that's like a man-made purpose. It could be, I want to go out and purchase a car. That would be one of your purposes, right? So once we know what our purpose is, we can then ask questions to find out what our prioritized activities are in order to drive productivity and the profit. So how do we figure out what our prioritized action items are? By asking the focusing question. Okay, so this is what Gary Keller calls the success habit. So ever since he started Keller Williams, this is what he would ask himself day in, day out, so that he can reprioritize and refocus on what needs to be done that day. So again, when you're working on your one thing, you always have to reprioritize, because it might not be the same one thing every single day. It might not be the same one thing every single year. So what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything will be easier or unnecessary? So we're looking for that lead domino, right? So now I want everybody to say it with me, just so that we can cement this into our heads, okay? If you don't walk out with anything today, walk out with the success habit question that Gary Keller used to build our company to where it is right now. Let's go, 1, 2, 3. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? All right, so now it sounds like I just caught you guys off guard at school or church or something like that. Let's say it one more time. All right, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So if you take a look at this question here, I want you to take a look. So what's the one thing I can do? And imagine there's a comma there. So it's not what's the 2 things, 3 things, it's one thing. And you can see that I can do, which means an action that we can take, right? Such that by taking that one thing action, so such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. So you're looking for that lead domino that will topple down a couple of other dominoes for you, so that you don't have to focus on a bunch of things at the same time. I'll give you an example later of how that works. Because I remember the first time I've asked myself this question, nothing came out. You need to ask it multiple times until your brain understands how to utilize this question so that it can get to work for you. You need to read the book, you need to spread it, you have to be around people who are constantly speaking the same language, okay? So let's see how we can leverage the focusing question and the success habit question. So we were talking about the 80-20 principle, the Pareto principle. Another tool and concept that we use at the one thing is we take it even further, extreme Pareto. So now that we know what our top 20% is, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the focusing question multiple times until we get down to just one thing, that first domino that's going to make everything else easier or unnecessary, okay? So let's see how that turned out. So this is an example here about going small and using extreme Pareto. So this example is actually one of my coaches who decided to run a marathon. So if we take a look here, I want you to imagine all of these red as dominoes. So if we take a look here, this domino going from the right to the left actually knocks down all of these items here. But if you take this top domino here of run a marathon and just knocked it down, it actually doesn't knock down any dominoes. So I'll go and explain that, okay? So I'm just gonna quickly read this for you. So on top of run a marathon, my coach actually ended up brainstorming and asking himself, what do I need to do in order to run a marathon? Asked the focusing question, and he got a list of 5 things. Work on diet plus plan, work on hydration and plan, select strength program, select running regimen, find a compatible running group. Ask the focusing question again, and select running regimen was the next domino. Ask the focusing question, many other activities came up. Join upcoming 5 10K runs, practice on hills, time block training schedule, check equipment, plan practice routes. Ask the focusing question one more time, and time block training schedule was on the top. Again, ask the focusing question, a huge list came out as well too. Choose AM, PM to weekly dedicate to training, arrange babysitter and dog sitter for block time, get running watch, coordinate with an experienced running partner or coach, identify indoor training alternatives for weather days. And ask the focusing question, and we got coordinate with an experienced running partner or coach. So with this domino, as I explained in the beginning, it actually topples all 15, 20 items down. Why? Because this experienced coach that he ended up hiring in Austin, Texas, happened to be one of the top running coaches there. So with his experience, he had a list of babysitters, dog sitters, and everything else ready for my coach to use. So you can see just with him coordinating with a running coach, the coach dealt with every other domino inside there. And that's how it toppled everything down, right? So it's much like us as real estate agents. For me and our team, I always tell our clients, we are your number one domino. We have contractors for you, painters for you, mortgage brokers, lawyers, anything house related. Come to us, and we even have brokerages worldwide and local agent specialist partners. This year, we've done a lot of referral work outside of Toronto because of that. So I just want you guys to think always about finding and locating that lead domino that will make everything else easier or unnecessary, which means just focusing on one domino will topple down 15, 20 items for you. That's what we're looking for. Because at the end of the day, time in itself and labor is not scalable. We only have a certain amount of time in a day, and if we don't spend it in our prioritized activities, we're never gonna get to where we wanna go, which is whatever success means to us, whatever that purpose is, right? So again, in order for us to cement this question in, because this is the basis of the book, asking this focusing question, let's say it all together one more time so that it can stick in your head, okay? What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Awesome, love that. That was much better than the first time. So what we're gonna do as well too is that we're gonna be utilizing the focusing question in all 7 circles of our life. Because I know there was a gentleman in the back there, he's not there anymore, where he was talking about balance. What happens is that if you are not touching on each 7 circle of your life, you're gonna feel like your life is out of balance. But once you're able to be in touch with all 7 circles, that's where the so-called balance, that feeling of balance starts to come in, right? So 7 circles of your life. What I want you to notice as well too is that everything in Gary Keller's life is prioritized. So there's no accident here that it starts with spiritual life. If you were with Gary Keller and you had a board meeting with him, if you weren't that number 1 priority and he didn't get through the whole meeting and finishing up that number 1 priority, he's not going on number 2. Okay? He will call the next meeting for it. So for himself, very important that everything is prioritized in our life to make sure we get to where we want to go, what's important to us. So starting at top there, spiritual life. If you're religious, give thanks to your God. If you're not, and you believe in the sciences, you believe in the nature, give thanks to the universe. Give thanks to, nature, okay? Second circle to focus on is your physical health. If you don't take care of your body, where are you gonna live? How are you gonna manifest those things in your head into reality? Because you need your physical body to do that, right? Personal life. If you don't take care of yourself, how are you able to take care of your key relationships? So you see how it topples down? And I know for personal life, a lot of women have a huge challenge with this because naturally, we're born as caregivers, we're nurturers. So for myself, I don't have kids, but I notice women with kids, they give everything to the children first before themselves, because then naturally they want to take care of them. But I want you to go back and remember, it's almost like us sitting on a plane. Remember when the oxygen mask drops, what does the flight attendant tell you? Put on your own first, so that this way you can help many more people. Okay? So that's why it's important to focus on our personal life before our key relationships. And if you notice in the key relationship section, there's a line that goes down because there's going to be key relationships that you're going to have to take care of for your personal life and as well as your professional life. So being able to identify what those 2 sides of the relationship are and making sure you're taking care of those as well too. And then the next circle would be job, business, finances. What the author believes, Gary Keller, is that once you go into this circle, and if you can take care of these three things, everything else almost just falls into place. Okay, so try that out for a shot. Many times as well too, I always get asked, what is the difference, Kim, between my job circle and my business circle? Anyone have a clue what the difference is? Want to give it a shot? All right, I'll go ahead and explain it. So what the key differences are is, for example, we're all real estate agents here. Anybody have a team? Awesome. So then you realize as well too that as a job, you're team leader. You might be the listing specialist. That's a job. And of course, you also have to run your business, right? So what I would consider job, sorry guys for all the technical difficulties. So really what the job is what are you currently doing in your role, whereas business is more of how am I planning to drive my business forward, what are the plans for my business. So those are the primary two differences. And then of course, like I said, once you follow the circles, everything kind of falls into place. You don't even have to think about your finances. So you notice that the finance is actually the last of the 7 circles there. Very interesting, right? First time I read the book, I was like, how come finance is all the way at the end? There are also 6 lies that hold us back from success. And we need to make sure that we clear these lies out of our head so that we have room for what the truths are. So the 6 lies that are holding us back from success is that we believe everything matters equally, and that's a lie. We also believe in multitasking. That's also a lie. A disciplined life? There's no such thing as a disciplined life. Willpower is always on will call. You think that when you've decided to do something that you can automatically do it. And when you don't do it, you relate it to a character issue. It's not a character issue. 5, a balanced life. Again, it is a lie. No such thing as a balanced life. And lastly, big is bad. Okay? So for today, we only have time to cover the top 2, though I believe it's going to be very helpful in your lives. Number 1, everything matters equally. So the reason why people believe everything matters equally is that in this day and age, we all believe in equity, equality, and we want to help everybody. However, when we translate this into business theory, the truth is that not everything matters equally. What happens when you start to believe this lie that everything matters equally, you're going to spend your time equally on everything. And that's where you spread your focus. Because remember, success is sequential, not simultaneous. All right, awesome. So then that already proves to us that not everything is equal and that there is a prioritized order for everything. Question?
Just pop back for a quick sec.
Yeah.
That's number 5.
Oh, yeah. Number 5 is a balanced life. And number 6 is big is bad. So what we do know is that high achievers always work from a clear sense of priority. Again, how do we get this priority? It's by first knowing with utmost clarity what it is that we want and what we call success, and having a focus on that and being able to ask the focusing question in order to give you what your prioritized activities are to focus on. And that's all you need to focus on. That's essentially our job, to focus on our purpose and then finding out what those priorities are and just whack away on those priorities. You don't have to think or focus on anything else. Okay? So this also brings us to lie number 2. So what happens is that if you believe everything matters equally, then you also believe in this line, multitasking. Because again, if you believe in everything matters equally, you're going to do multiple things at the same time, giving it the same amount of time, right? So let's take a look at this graphic here. So we notice on top here, there is the chart where it says interrupted workflow versus a focused workflow. If you notice, the focused workflow, the timeline it takes to start and finish something is much less time than when you have an interrupted multitasking workflow, okay? So if we take a look up here, let's say this is our primary work, and I'm gonna call it lead generation since we're all agents here. When we're lead generating, we're focused. The brain operates on rules and systems, so the rules of the game. That's where the focus comes in. But what happens is that when a distraction comes in and someone knocks at your office door, okay? Your brain has to switch and reorient to the new rules of the game and how do I address this person who's knocking at the door? And it does this so fast that you don't even realize it, but that's what's essentially going on in your brain. So the time it takes to switch, reorient to the new rules, never mind the distraction itself, the person who's coming into your office takes a chunk of time. You then, after speaking with them, have to switch back, reorientate to the rules of lead generation again, and that takes time. And that's why it takes longer to finish. And I want you to remember as well too that when someone comes in and knocks at your office door, they're bringing their priority into your life because you haven't told them what your priority are. Remember, everybody wants to help out. So once you find out what your purpose is, and if you've already asked the focusing question to get your prioritized activity, now it's time to tell the world what you're working on so that they can help you, support you in what you're doing as well too, okay? Because again, when someone's distracting you, it's them bringing their priority into your life. Though we're all working for a reason, and it's to get us to our purpose. That profit is to get us to our purpose. So again, don't forget why we're working. Because time, again, once spent, we're never gonna get back. And like I said in the beginning, it just hit me in the head so hard. I've never viewed time like that before. I would spend it with whoever, whenever, and whatever. But now, everything's a little bit more focused. Before I do that, everybody has a blank sheet of paper on your table, right? I'd like you to pull that out right now because we're going to do a quick exercise here. Take a little bit of a break. And I also need, as well too, for everybody to get into partners. So I see there's 4 people there. You guys are good. 4 there, 3. Maybe with the table in the back, they have 3 as well.
All right.
You guys don't have to know each other.
Because I thought.
Do you need an extra piece of paper?
I'm just recording.
I'll just grab,
Here you go.
perfect, awesome. I don't think, are you using this?
I have an extra one here too.
All right, everybody in partners. Thanks, Audrey.
Yeah.
Where can I sit? I'll sit right here.
That's okay. We'll get you a blank piece of paper as well too. And maybe Caroline, you can participate with her.
There's an extra one. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yes, I'm going to.
Yes. You're good now.
Awesome, thank you. This one too? All right, everybody, I need your attention and focus here. All right, so what I'm going to need you to do right now is by yourself, without your partner, because the partner is going to be the second part of the activity here. I'm going to be timing you, and what I need you to do on the top piece of paper is in sequential order. Write down, actually hold on one sec. You get this in front of you just so that you know what to write down. All right, so I'm going to time you, and what you're going to do is you're going to copy down the focusing question so that it helps it cement in your head as well. And I'm going to time you on that. All right? Very easy, straightforward. Ready? Do you have a pen? Yeah. All right. Ready? 1, and then when you're done, just look up at me, all right? 1, 2, 3, go. Done?
Done.
All right, awesome. Yep, so it took about 32 seconds. Now, right under that, what I want you to do, and I'm going to time you as well too, is in sequential order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just underneath that, and I'm going to time you. Should take you about 10 seconds. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Done.
All right, everyone's looked up. About 11 seconds there. The last thing I want you to do with your partner is you're going to lift up your pen, okay? And what you're going to do is then you're going to look at your partner, look back straight, and then put a dot on your paper. Lift up again, make eye contact with your partner, and then put a dot down. So you're going to do that 10 times. And I'm going to time you on it. Look up or shout done when you're done. So don't start yet. I haven't timed it yet. Okay, so ready? Ready? 1. Oh, Andre, you threw your pen. You're not going to be able to do the activity. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. No cheating. Eye contact before the dot, please. Some people still going at it. Done? All right. Yeah. All right, so that took us a total of 69 seconds. Now I need you to flip your paper around on the other side. So all 3 activities that we did, we're going to be doing the same thing in the same order. What we're going to do this time now is I'm going to give you a head start before the timer comes on. And at the top of your page, copy down what's the. Just start with the 2 letters of the focusing, the 2 words of the focusing question. What's the? And then stop right there. And I'm giving you a head start before the timer comes on. So you can write it down. Now, these are instructions, so you're not going to start yet. Underneath that, remember on the other side we had the second activity, which is to go in sequential order. So when I say go, you're going to put number 1 underneath the focusing question. And then you're going to move to the next activity that we did. Lift up your pen, look at your partner, and then dot. And then you are allowed to copy the next 2 words, one thing. Go on the next sequence and start number 2. Hold the pen up again, look at your partner, dot, and then finish the whole focusing question, and then 10 of everything else. Got it? Yeah. Make sense? All right, awesome. I'm now going to time you. Hold on. Don't start yet, don't start yet. You look a bit confused.
I got you.
You got it? All right, cool. Got it. So ready? 1, 2, 3, timer on. Two words at a time. I hear people laughing. It's typical when we do this exercise. I see some confused faces. This happens all the time as well. 25 seconds has already passed. Usually I see people quit in frustration about this time as well too, but no one has quit here yet. Hear more people laughing. Hopefully you're kind of getting the point here. 60 seconds has passed. More people giggling. Some faces looking a bit frustrated. Oh, we have someone done here. Good. We're past a minute and 15 seconds. And it looks like the majority of the people are done. All right, so. Guys, that exercise while we were multitasking took us a minute and 20 seconds. When we were doing it, each activity at a time, focusing on one thing at a time, it took us 69 seconds. There were people who were laughing, being distracted, frustrated faces. I didn't see anyone give up here, but typically in classes, people would give up, like middle of the way or not even middle of the way. I want you to actually flip to the other side as well and notice the difference between the two. What do you see are the differences? One's messier. Oh my gosh, so what does that mean? The quality of work suffers when you're multitasking. Isn't that true? So, guys, back here. So yes, she did say it's messy. So what you've noticed is that the quality of work suffers when you're multitasking. You end up getting frustrated. You think that tasks take longer to complete when it's actually shorter, and you've proved it yourself. That's why I needed everybody to do the activity. What we do know through research is that professionals lose on average about 28% of their day due to multitasking. Oh my gosh, that is 1/3 of your life there. So if you can focus on eliminating multitasking right away, just that one lie will get you 30% of your lifetime back. So now let me give you an example of this. If you were working 5 days a week, now you get back that 1.5 day. If you were working 4 weeks out of a month, you basically get 1 whole week back. Isn't that interesting? Now it's where do you want to spend that time? Do you want to spend it with friends, family, or do you want to use that time and refocus back into your goals or create bigger goals, right? So, but you guys proved it yourself. So I just want you to remember, multitasking does take a toll. And imagine, that's only just 2 lies. The rest of the 4 lies, when you can undo them in your head, is going to make a massive impact and change in your life. All right, let me get back here. So let's take a look here. So Clifford Nass, who is actually a researcher at a university, I just don't remember which university. I think it was either Harvard or Stanford, right? So his mission was actually to find out how multitaskers were so effective and efficient at what they did. So he was out to kind of do the research to understand multitasking and how we can share that with the world. Because again, it's a lie, but he didn't know that. So in 2009, Clifford Nass set out to answer this question. He wanted to share multitasking with the world. But guess what he found out? I was sure that they had some secret ability, but it turns out that high multitaskers are suckers for irrelevancy, and you guys just proved that with the exercise, okay? They were outperformed on every single measure. Although they convinced themselves in the world that they were great at it, there was just one problem. Multitaskers were lousy at everything, and you demonstrated that through the exercise. This one, hilarious. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. And again, you proved that with the exercise, all right? So kudos to you guys. As soon as you guys step out today and decide to eliminate multitasking, you're getting 30% of your life back. That's a lot of time. So how do we make this all work? So this is one of the tools that we use at the One Thing workshop. And you guys should have that on your desk as well too. It's the 66-day challenge calendar. So what you do after you've identified clearly what your purpose is, after you've identified what your priorities are, now you need to make those prioritized activity a habit. And this is how we're gonna do it, by utilizing the 66-day challenge calendar, okay? Because on average, it takes about 66 days through research to get a habit solidified. Now, habits could take anywhere from 18 to 254 days to cement. But just on the average, it'll be 66 days, okay? So what you want to do is, on the top of your calendar there, you're going to notice that there are 7 circles of your life listed on there, okay? So what you want to do is go ahead and have a head start. Pick one area of your life where you'd like to focus on and get started at it. If you're stuck, just circle anything, get started, because if you jump into it, at least you're taking some sort of action, right? Don't get stuck in your head. But eventually, what you want to do is to do this very purposefully and ask yourself the focusing question, so that that habit that you're building essentially is that one habit that knocks down everything else. And I'll give you an example of this. So when I first read the book in 2013, 2014 finally did my 66-day challenge. I think by the 5th and 6th one, I finally understood what finding the lead domino meant. So I asked myself the focusing question, what's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And it finally popped up and made sense. Following my schedule. So you're asking, how does following my schedule have to do with a lead domino toppling down a bunch of others? Well, if we know as agents our top 20% priorities are to lead generate, lead follow up, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, scripts, and role play, if I have that scheduled into my calendar, now I don't have to focus on building the habit of lead generation or follow up or going on appointments. I just need to focus on my lead domino, which is to build the habit of following my schedule. Because now following my schedule is one habit, yet it also knocks down the rest of the 5 items, which are our top 25%. But now your focus has shifted and you're not worried about everything else. The focus is just to follow your schedule. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But it didn't occur to me to utilize the focusing question like that until the 5th or 6th time I've done it. So that's why I said that even if you step out today, keep asking yourself the focusing question. It takes time for the brain to understand the question and to help you get to what that prioritized action and that lead domino is. And that saves me a lot of grief, because me, if my head, I'm thinking about, okay, I need to build a habit for lead generating, following my schedule, negotiating contracts, scripts, and role play, I would go crazy. But now my one focus is just to focus on following my schedule. How much more easier is that on your mind, right? So that's what we mean. So has everybody already circled what they're going to be focusing on yet? Typically, a question I would get with the 66-day challenge calendar is, Kim, when I choose a habit, do I have to do it 7 days in a week? And usually people ask me is when they're building like a morning wake-up routine schedule. Kim, does this mean that I have to also wake up on the weekends at 5 a.m. in the morning? I'd like to sleep in. The answer is no, okay? So what you do with, can I borrow someone's 66 day? Awesome. So what you want to do is that once you've decided what that habit is, you want to decide how many days are you going to commit to building that habit. So I'm going to use physical health, the second circle, as an example, because usually, most of the time, that's a popular one that everyone starts out with. Physical health, going to the gym, exercising. So let's say I've chosen physical health. I'm saying I'm going to the gym 2 days a week. What day is it today? Wednesday. So let's say I'm going Wednesday and Thursday every week. What I would do on the top right-hand corner, where the 1 is, I would put today's date as well, which is, what is it, 28th? The 28th at the corner, and on my second box, I would put 29 on there. Then I would jump to the next week and put whatever the corresponding date is for Wednesday and Thursday, and keep numbering it at the corner until 66 days. Now our only job is to gamify this, because this is a game, it's gonna make it easy and fun, is to put X's on the days that we've completed what we said we were gonna do as a habit build, okay? And the name of the game is to build as long as a chain as you can and not to break the chain. Now here's the thing as well too. When you're starting out building habits, I want you to think about it like this. Building habits almost like a skill as well too. Jump into it as soon as possible. It doesn't matter if you fail, because when you fail, that's the chance and that's the time where you're gonna learn the fastest, okay? So what I used to do is that when I would miss a day, I would just totally tear up my calendar because I wanted perfect X's. Learn from my mistake, do not tear up your calendar. Draw a circle around it. Now the next game is to make your chain longer than your previous one. Because what happens is that this is a focusing tool for us. Once we rip it out of sight, out of mind, and it's gonna take you longer to get this calendar back up and stuck on your wall again. Whereas if you draw the circle, now you're reminding yourself, now I just gotta beat my last chain. Take it a day at a time, so don't rip it up. Don't be like me, because I have heard of other people who ripped it up as soon as they missed an X as well. Draw a circle so that you can feel good. The point of this is so that you can see a progress, because as human beings, we love progress. It's just that we don't have tools to measure the growth, and that's where you stay in frustration, right? But if you can see some sort of progress, you start to feel like you're working towards something, and it's working. So do not rip it up. Any questions about the 66-day challenge calendar and how to build a habit?
I have just a clarification. So in your example of the exercise twice a week, and you did it Wednesday and Thursday, then in day 3 and 4, you do the following
Wednesday, Thursday, corresponding.
Okay.
Yes. So choose your habit. Usually the habit build will be around what your purpose is, what your priority are, and then what that activity you want to build as the habit that will drive you to the fastest way to get you to success. But if there's other areas in your life that you want to work on, or if you just want to jump into the habit of building habits, because that's what it is, a light bulb came up for me about 2 years ago. I was like, oh my gosh, building habits is actually a habit as well. So just jump into it, right? Don't let anything stall you. Any other questions about the 66-day challenge calendar? Because this is what's going to help you solidify everything. Because what I realized is that once you want to get somewhere and you want to be somewhere, all you have to do is ask yourself the question, what are the habits of these people who are accomplishing what I want to do? And then you just focus on your purpose, your priority, which is that habit build portion. And you can get everything your role model is getting done just by focusing on building habits, nothing else, okay? Now, we did mention in the beginning that there were 6 lies holding us back from success that we need to clear out of our mind. We talked about the 2. First is that everything matters equally. Let's try to erase that out of our head. And then multitasking, you've demonstrated yourself as well too, does not help. There are also 3 commitments that will help us bring us closer to where we want to go as well too. And these are the 3 commitments to achieving extraordinary results from your one thing. One is to follow the path of mastery, okay? So what I want you to notice there is that it's a path and not a destination. It's a journey, it's a process. Fall in love with the process, fall in love with the path. It's somewhere, it's a path that everybody has to go through in order to get to where they want to go. 2 is moving from E to P. Anybody know what E to P stands for?
Entrepreneurial to purposeful?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. So moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful, and we're going to go into further discussion about this. And then number 3 is to live the accountability cycle. I know some people are writing it down. I'm just going to hold it here for a sec. So 1, following the path of mastery. Again, just want to be clear, it's a path and not a destination. It's a journey that we go through. When you can see mastery as a path you go down instead of a destination you arrive at, it starts to feel accessible and attainable, right? It's not like you're going somewhere and it's going to stop, because the whole world always keeps moving forward. Once you stop, you're actually moving backwards, right? Because everything keeps going forward. Another definition I kind of want to add to this, I love this, explaining the path of mastery. The path of mastery is a commitment to doing things in the most excellent way that you know how, and then reviewing your experience with an open mind to determining how you're going to be even better at that, and then going back and doing it the very best way you know how again. So it's always growing, acquiring new knowledge, reflecting, and adding it back into the process, so that you're improving forever like a laser beam into infinity. I love that, so I have to share it. So that's essentially following the path of mastery. 2, moving from E to P, entrepreneurial to purposeful. Are you simply doing this to simply do the best you can do, or are you doing this to do it the best it could be done? So basically what entrepreneurial to purposeful means is that you're not operating anymore on raw ability and talent, okay? Because as entrepreneur, we're all excited, enthusiastic about things, and then we just jump into it without even planning. That's what we do as entrepreneurs. What we want to eventually do is move to purposeful. What purposeful is going to do is that you're actually going to realize you're going to have to slow down, think, ask yourself the focusing question, and set out a plan, and then going after it. It's actually going to get you your results faster than just jumping into something. Though even myself, I have a challenge with that, because I'm constantly wanting to go, go, go. So when I go to purposeful, I feel like I'm slowing down everything much. And it's true, it's gonna feel like it's slowing down, however, you're gonna get to where you wanna go faster, okay? And another thing about moving from entrepreneurial to purposeful is that we all have a ceiling of achievement. No matter who it is, you're going to hit a ceiling. The bigger your goals are, you're gonna have more ceilings to hit and to break through. Once you hit these ceilings, you have to realize that it's not a character issue. It's not that, we're not doing things great. It's how do we figure out what systems, model, or people we need to add in order to break through the ceiling. Because what happens is that most often, when we hit the ceiling, we start to blame ourselves. We start to bounce up and down the ceiling, and we start to get frustrated. When that frustration shows up, we're like, maybe I'm not too cut out for this job. Maybe this is not what I want to do as a career. But know that everybody goes through this frustration, and it's just called hitting a ceiling. And what we want to do is bring in the purposeful part to add in a new system, model, or a person to break us through purposefully. Okay? Thought I saw a question in the back. And then lastly, what you do after all of that's said and done is to live the accountability cycle. Okay? So taking complete ownership of your outcomes by holding no one else but you're self-responsible for them is the most powerful thing you can do to drive your success. Because what happens is that once you start to blame another situation, another person, the onus is not on you anymore, it's on something else, which means you're gonna stay where you are because you're not gonna be growing, right? So it's always being able to take responsibility, asking what can I do differently as well. Now, living the accountability cycle, there's a couple of ways to do it. There's 3 forms. You could do it through peer-to-peer, mentorship, or in accountability in its highest form, a coach. So an analogy that I love using is, for example, let's say we're going to New York City from Toronto. And if we're comparing it to, let's see here, if we're walking from Toronto to New York City, I don't know how long that takes, but let's say it takes 24 hours to walk there. That would be a peer-to-peer accountability relationship, okay? Now, let's say we're going from Toronto to New York City, and this time we're taking the Greyhound. It's gonna cut out some of our time, right? So let's call that 12 hours. That I'm gonna compare to mentorship relationship for accountability. The last one is, imagine if we were flying a direct flight from Toronto to New York City. It gets us there quickest and the most fastest way. So that's why the highest form of accountability would be to hire a coach, because they specialize in that, they see the bigger picture, and they're able to help guide you to where you want to go, getting there faster. But of course, your job first is to identify what your purpose is so that you're focused all the time as well. Okay? And now, this is how usually accountable people sound like. And you'll recognize it within yourself as well too, okay? So number 1, when life happens, what we do is that we seek reality. We're asking what's happening. We're looking around at all of the evidence, much like you're doing today here at the course. You're figuring out what's going on. 2, you acknowledge reality. You know what, this is the way it is. This is what's happening right now. And then 3, you own it. If it's to be, it's up to me. I'm going to figure out a way to make it happen. And then the 4th thing is that we start to find solutions. What can I do about it? How can I move the ball forward? And then number 5, gets on with it. Okay, let's go make it happen. Whereas, victimhood. These are the people that we probably want to avoid. If you hear these people, this is what it sounds like, because it's going to drain lots of energy out of you. So number 1, when life happens, victims avoid reality. They don't ask any questions. They don't investigate. They don't look for evidence of what's going on. They end up fighting reality and saying, hey, that's not how I see it. Then they start to blame. So remember, accountability is taking responsibility. But for a victim, they will start blaming. If everybody else would just do their job. Personal excuses start to come in. You know what, it's not my job. I'm not responsible for that. And lastly, they wait and they hope. You know what, if it's meant to be, it will happen. I'll just sit around and wait for it to happen. And these are the victims in our lives. And once we hear this type of language, stay as far away as possible, because again, it's going to drain a lot of energy, especially if you're looking to get to where you want to go, right? A very interesting thing. Lots of research when writing the One Thing book. So what we did find out is that individuals with written goals are 39.5% more likely to achieve their goals. So let's think about that for a second. Because I've taken bold like 12 times, and I've seen this stat, but it just never registered to me until I started teaching the One Thing. So let's sit on that for a bit. So individuals with written goals are 39.5% more likely to succeed. What does that mean? As soon as I have clarity and I've written down what my goals are, it automatically brings me 40% already towards my goal. Oh my gosh, why am I not doing it? The second stat is even more interesting. Individuals with clearly written goals and a weekly accountability partner, like a coach, are 76.7% more likely to hit their goal. So once you've written it down, you have that clarity, and you have a person holding you accountable, oh my gosh, I'm 80% towards my goal without taking action. So the rest of the 24-ish% is the actions that I take. And how do I know what actions to take? Well, again, it circles back to knowing what my purpose is and what my prioritized action is. Isn't that interesting? Now I'll share with you, I had a struggle with this as well too. And part of the reasons why it took me so long to write down my goals is that as agents, we have so much stuff going on. I always thought it was just an extra thing that I had to do because I didn't know what the purpose or the benefit of it is. But here it is, 39.5% and 76.7%. It's really just a focusing tool, right? For you to stay on track and just to review it. That automatically helps your brain focus. It's quite interesting. So what we do recommend is that you at least review your goals on a weekly basis. If you can do it on a daily basis, that's even better, because now it's going to redirect your brain to where it needs to focus, right? What type of time management system do you use? So the type of time management system you use is probably comparable to what you made last year, because what your results come out are how you manage your time, right? Because at the end of the day, we all have 1,440 minutes. So where are we spending that time? The results will show, and that's usually reflected in your GCI income. So we also teach a very powerful technique to use, time blocking. So now that we've identified what our purpose is, asked the focusing question to know what our prioritized activities are, we've already identified what that habit we're going to be building is. Now it's time to put it into our calendar. Now here's the thing though, it doesn't mean that as soon as you have a calendar set that you're going to follow it. Because if you're like me, I sometimes trail off of my calendar, even though I do have a schedule. It happens. And the reason for this is that there are still 4 distractions that steal your time and 4 thieves that are still in the way that you need to get rid of, which we're going to dive deeper at the One Thing workshop as well too. Okay? So what we recommend for time blocking your one thing is, first, time block your time off. Okay? So I used to have a challenge with this. I was like, Gary Keller, why are you asking me to time block my time off when I haven't made any money yet? It's the beginning of the year and you're asking me to time block my time off. The reason why we do this is, again, going back to our purpose, remembering why we're working. Okay? So we're scheduling, essentially what we're doing is we're scheduling our work time around our play time. That's the most important thing. All right? So time block your time off so that you know how much time you have remaining for the rest of the year in order to schedule into your calendar to hit your goal. Because what I've realized is that your goal is a mathematical formula. So it's very, very important to track your conversion ratios, your numbers as well too, because now you're going to know how much time you need to block off in order to hit your goal. And it's said that if you can follow 80% of your schedule, you're most likely going to hit your goal, right? So we did this very strategically. It's not that we're just putting anything else and anything into our calendar. We're working around everything and figuring out exactly how much time is needed throughout the year in order to get us to where we want to go. Second thing you want to do is time block your one thing. Now, you notice here, on vacation time, you're not doing your one thing. You get time off of that. And then lastly is to time block your planning time. So the planning time is to maybe reprioritize what your one thing for the week is again, or to review what your numbers are to stay in focus. Because remember, 39.5% of the people who have written down their goals are more likely to hit them 39.5% of the time. And now if you have the coach in there, 76.7% more likely to hit your goals. Okay, so very important to also block off your planning time. Any questions about scheduling, time blocking? Yes?
Your one thing was to follow your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You quantified following your schedule by everything that was in your schedule you did.
Yes. Now, there are times, because it's in real estate, that there are fires that we have to put out. So if you must erase something, and if it's your top 5, your top 20%, what you erase, you must replace. Because if you don't replace it, there's where it's going to take a lag time in order to hit your goals, right? Because we know it usually takes about 90 to 120 days of consistent concentration in order for the momentum to pop in. And the momentum part, how you recognize the momentum, is that it just feels like deals are suddenly coming to you. It feels like it's suddenly coming to you, but you've worked at that 90 to 120 days prior to. So that's how you know those are the results, right? So now what I do is I work backwards. Whenever my results are varying and I'm not getting the results that I want, I automatically know in my head I was not focused. So how do I get refocused again? Which is interesting because before I would blame myself or I would not know how come I'm not getting the results I'm getting. It just means that you weren't focused prior to. That's it. So how do I redirect my focus? And then again, I've been cementing this in your head and going through it over and over again. Remember, for us, our job is to really clearly identify what our purpose is. What's that thing that makes us happy? What's that thing that makes us tingle when we think about it, talk about it? That's generally what your purpose is. And very important to know your purpose because we're all human beings. Are there going to be days when you're going to wake up and you're going to say, "Oh my gosh, I don't feel like working today"? Yes, it happens, and it happens to everybody. And that's why we always have to remember what our purpose is. And then again with purpose, by asking the focusing question, we will get our prioritized activities. Again, cementing this in, and that's all we have to focus on. Productivity, profit, just a byproduct of us focusing on our purpose and priority. Because at the end of the day, it's never about the money, but then the focus shifts there because it's a goal. It's always about what can we do with that profit, that money, which then circles back to our purpose. So remember why we're doing what we're doing. It's going to help us get to where we want to go faster. And at the end, you are the first domino. Without growing, we're never going to be able to get to where we want to go. And you've got to make that first choice. Because at the end of the day, your business grows to the extent that you do. So whenever I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for as well too, I'm always asking myself, am I not growing personally? Is that why my business is not growing? And most often time, it probably is. It's when I realize that I get into a comfortable position. But once you're growing, you get uncomfortable, and it's a good thing. And you want to always feel uncomfortable, okay? So there you are. So right now, if everybody could share with me an aha, that would be super awesome because it's going to give me so much energy to drive back to Toronto. It's going to probably be in a 2.5-hour drive with traffic and construction. Woohoo! Because there was certainly a lot of construction and trucks along the way getting here. So it's going to be worse going back. So what are your ahas today? Share with me. Let me know that you've learned something, and I'll be super happy driving back in this 2.5-hour drive. Yes?
I loved the domino and the exponential growth.
Yes.
About it.
Love it. So anytime that anything feels slow and you're focusing on your one thing, just know that it's the right way. That's how it's supposed to happen. success is never linear like this, what we all think. You always have to build that momentum, and then you're waiting for that geometric progression to hit, and that's what we're working towards. Awesome, thank you for that. Yes?
Focusing on 80% yields 20% of the results. So about 80% of, the other work, it's more busy work.
Yes. So,
20% of the results.
yeah, so leave out the 80%, identify what your 20% is, put 20% of your effort into that, and it will yield 80% of your results. Love it. Yes?
You may have to ask the focusing question multiple times to get to that one domino.
Yes, always. Keep asking it, even throughout the day, just so that you can reprioritize. Because let's say if something just came out of left field, your one thing might not be your one thing anymore. So there's always one things for the year, one things for the day, one things for the week. So just know that it's not always one thing, it's one thing at this moment. So you keep asking yourself in order to reprioritize every single day, or even week, or even year. Thank you. Yes?
The combination of writing down your goals and having a coach.
Yes, that's a huge one. And like I said, I've taken bold like 12 times, and I've seen that stat flash at me many, many times, and I just never understood the importance until I started teaching the one thing. And again, it hit me in the head. That's usually what happens, right? I'm like, oh my God, how come I didn't get it before? Writing down your goals get you 40% automatically towards your goal. Writing it down and having that accountability person, close to 80% of achieving your goal, and the 20% is just the actions that you take. Okay? Awesome. Yes.
Mine was this 66-day challenge. This is excellent to actually create a new habit.
I know.
Because you track it and you're accountable, and then that'll make you do it.
Awesome. And are you going to stick that? Where are you going to stick it?
Oh, right in front of my desk.
That's awesome. Well, I used to stick it in front of my desk as well too. Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
If you have an office or if you have an open space, stick it outside. So that now people are
Everyone can see it.
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
No pressure, no diamonds. I stuck mine. I stuck mine right outside my office, and it happens to be right beside my team leader's office as well too. So it's just it doesn't feel good not to follow that habit. There was like this one time I had like 3 circles on it, and I was out of the office. When I came back to the office, there was like a sticky note on my 66-day challenge calendar. My mentor and team leader, Jamie Purvis, says, "Come talk to me about your one thing." I was like, "Hey Jamie, you wanted to talk to me?" And he was like, "Yes, I see 3 circles. What's going on?" I was like, "Jamie, I know. It's just that you guys have to remember when you're starting to build a habit, because it's a new habit, it's not going to be easy. What I realized, because I've done this so many times, is that usually the first, second to third week, it's going to go pretty good because you're excited, it's new, and you're going to have that energy. What happens after the 3 weeks is now it starts to dwindle, and that's why you need that accountability, right? So stick it outside in a space where someone can see it. Yes?
The multitasking activity showed how inefficient multitasking really is. That 28% or 30%, that really blew my mind of how much time is wasted.
You know, you're giving me goosebumps too. You can't see it, but my hairs are sticking up, and no, it's crazy. And even up to this day, even though I've eliminated some multitasking, there's still some things that I still have to rework and refocus on not multitasking, because it's so hard. Because as human beings, again, we want to help. So if someone were to ask me a question, I'd be like, okay, what is it? And then I would jump back in. No, it's not good. But thank you. Any other ahas? Good?
My big aha was on that 66-day challenge, because I've done it a few times as well, and I would rip it up because I want to see it perfect.
Exactly.
And then the circles were a big aha, just to.
And what was your experience after you ripped it up? How long did it take you to get back
most
into
times
it?
I would put it back.
Oh, you would?
I
okay.
did the 66 straight, but.
Oh, okay, so you're much better at it than me then, because like I said, as soon as I rip it up, it's
Yeah.
away from focus and it takes me longer to get it back up again.
Yeah.
And just remember, this is just a focus tool. It's a tool to help us build consistent habit. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure we're building it. And that's the end result, right? It doesn't matter if it's perfect, because consistency compounds and inconsistency also compounds. And the point of this is to build a consistency towards your habit so that it can help compound as well too, right? And then I just want to add one thing into this, is that what I realize is that once I focus on one habit, there's also a halo effect and a domino effect that knocks down other things. So for example, what I'm working on right now is eating breakfast daily before coming to work. Because what I realize is that big success requires big energy, and it's about how do I maintain my energy and how do I maintain my focus, right? But without that breakfast, I get hungry. So what happens, what I started to notice about creating this breakfast building habit, is that it actually gets me to eat more frequently throughout the day. Because what used to happen is that when I'm in super focus, I would not feel hungry at all, and I would skip meals throughout the whole day and go home and eat dinner. Not healthy at all. So with that one habit of building the habit of eating breakfast, it got my tummy, my metabolism going, and now, even if I'm in focus, my stomach will call out to me. But before, no, I would skip all of those meals. So there's a halo effect and a compounding effect with building habits as well. You're gonna start to notice that with habits you build, okay? Cool. Thank you so much for sharing your ahas. All right, so we also have a 66-day challenge Facebook community. We'd invite you guys to join us as well too, because at the end of the day, it's about knowing what your prioritized activities are, what your habits you want to build is, and supporting each other. Because building a habit is not easy. It takes away a lot of your willpower because it's new, right? So join us at the 66-day challenge Facebook community, and let's support each other. Share our ahas, successes, failures, so that we can learn from each other. And as well too, we have the full day workshop coming on July 11th in Toronto. Might be a little bit too far for you guys. Just gonna pass this around. It comes with a workshop book and as well with a one thing book. Again, if you haven't read it, please read it. It's super awesome. Includes lunch as well too. And now our 20% off early bird special actually ended last Friday, but because you guys didn't get a chance to experience the taster, we have created a coupon code for the early bird special as well too, the 20% off, KW Golden. Is there anyone here right now who would love to travel to Toronto and join us in the workshop? Anyone here right now? No, I will follow up with you later. And there it is, the one thing. Now before you guys go, I just want to share a video with you. Is there any way we can get the lights here? All right.
Have you ever wondered, if everyone has the same number of hours in a day, why do some people seem to get so much more done than others? Are they putting in longer hours? Are they not taking vacations? Are their personal lives suffering? The truth is, it's not that we have too little time to do all the things we need to do. It's that we feel the need to do too many things in the time we have. The people who achieve extraordinary results don't achieve them by working more hours. They achieve them by getting more done in the hours they work. At home or on the job, distractions lead to poor choices, painful mistakes, and unnecessary stress. Success comes when you can honestly say that you are meant to be where you are right now, doing exactly what you're doing. Identify what matters most to get the results you seek and give it your undivided attention, because at any moment in time, there can only be one thing. What's your one thing?
So at the end of the day, do we want to be the split screen person on the right or on the left. So let's focus on our one thing so that we can get home early to what's important to us, our friends, family, or whatever that purpose we're working towards. Thank you so much for coming out today. Thank you for sharing your All right. Thank you for having me here. She was good.